frankly, Chairman, we've spoken about this privately, and while I appreciate your apology at the top, this can't fall on one person's shoulders who's juggling a dozen different things at the top of a meeting. It is a process that has played out before in this committee. I understand it played out in the Budget Committee yesterday with a significant spending bill that was released just hours, if not minutes, before the Budget Committee hearing. And it bespeaks a lack of candor and a lack of transparency in the process that is harmful to not the minority members on the committee, although it is. That's not the most important thing about this. We represent 9 million people in the state of New Jersey, and they have a right to know what's going to be voted on in this committee. They have a right to weigh in with their comments if they so choose, and they have a right to a transparent legislative process. And for too long, these kinds of things happen. And today, it's kind of the worst example of it, where a bill is moved we didn't even know was on the agenda. And if we didn't know it was on the agenda, certainly our constituents didn't know it was on the agenda. And yes, we're in the minority party. We understand that. But collectively, the four of us on this side of the aisle represent almost 1 million people. And all of us should be trying to represent 9 million people in the state. And so I think that we have to take a step back. It is not okay. It's not okay for the majority to waive things onto the agenda. Frankly, this bill was introduced yesterday, as I'm informed. To waive things on the agenda in the morning, not tell the minority, and then call the roll. It's offensive. Again, we take offense as members of the minority, but not because we're offended personally. We're offended on behalf of our constituents and on behalf of the process that, as the minority, at the very least, we have an obligation to make sure is transparent and accessible to the people whom we represent, and frankly, the people whom you represent, Chairman, and everybody on this committee. And so I don't know if that's going to change anything. We've been dealing with this for years, and we've been dealing with it in this process for months, specifically on the committee. But some things need to be said, and that needs to be said, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate your indulgence for allowing us to put it on the record. I appreciate the opportunity to caucus. It's certainly an inadequate amount of time to deal with legislation that is important. If legislation weren't important, it shouldn't be in front of this committee. And if it is important enough to get in front of this committee, we should have enough time and notice for A, the public to weigh in, and B, for legislators to analyze it and make a considered decision on it. We didn't have an opportunity to do either of those things in this instance. And before we vote, that much should be said. So thank you, Chairman. We're prepared to cast our votes in unison on this bill. You might be able to guess where we're going.